Okay, I think it's on. Yeah? I've got a mark right there. Anyhow, this is Sarah, and it's Sunday. It's still light out, and I've got a little bit of time before we go off to family dinner to work on Minty, who is sitting next to me with Noodle. Let's see, the last time I worked on my little vibrating noodle spawnling, hello, a couple people are in the chat already, yes. Let's see, I worked on a couple different versions of feet, and the feet for this little mini vibrating robot fit onto his little appendages like shoes, and I developed, I think, three different versions of shoes with either different textures of sponge or brush on the end that I thought might allow him to paint on a surface while vibrating and doing his little spinning dance. It turned out that none of those worked. None of the three renditions that I came up with did what I thought they were going to do, but I got a lot of really good feedback from some people in the chat. My friend Tony and Adam and Alice all gave me really, really good suggestions, and I said that I would go get more materials and give another shot at making decent feet for the little doodling spawn. And hi everybody. Cool, thank you for being here. Good to see you again too. I'm happy that, cool, I have company while I'm doing this. So I'm gonna switch the camera view to the down, the bench view, and this is the setup that I have going for today. Again, this is Minty right here. Again, named for the fact that the first night I was working on him, his little toothbrush feet things that I was modifying had a little, like, what would you call that? Listerine or mouthwash bubble inside of them that I accidentally popped all over my face, thus making me and his feet smell like toothpaste. So, and to this day, I think his feet actually still kind of smell like mint. There's like a remnant of it, so he's minty feet. So, things that I've changed since the first night that I birthed this fellow. I have given him some nice, soft, velvety silicone wire. Excuse me. That connect his little vibrating motors up to kind of his temporary prototype brain that's hanging over him. And this is just a itty-bitty breadboard with some transistors in it and the Arduino. And I actually went ahead and hooked up Mark's little schematic-y do that he gave me for the transistors since the last stream, so I can now individually control each of the vibrating motors and the speed at which the little offset weight thing is spinning. So, yeah. that's a good thing. So, yeah. I'll talk a little bit more about what I'm going to do today. So as I mentioned, at some point, him and I, Mark and I, over there, we're gonna have to go off and meet my family for dinner, but before then I want to actually get him making some marks, because he's an artist robot and he needs to make smears. He needs to make little, like, inky, leaky bits and designs and stuff. That's like his whole purpose in life as a robot. So I'm hoping today to get him a little bit messy and to soil some of his feet. The ones that are on him right now, I guess I can hold that up. As you can see, there are these little gray pads at the bottom of his feet. Those are little sponges. I haven't given up on the sponges. I'll just say this. I made feet previous to this, or prior to this, that had big, thick pieces of sponge on the end, and the thicker pieces of sponge just kind of absorbed the vibration and didn't facilitate in the moving. But these ones are kind of inset within his feet, so they're not really making a lot of contact with the ground. The thing that is primarily making contact with the surface he stands on are these this inner edge. The bottoms of his feet look kind of like chess rooks, I guess, and this was a design suggested by my friend Tony, who was in the chat last time. He kind of said, hey, well, you know, the surface needs to be solid. The edge that makes contact with the ground needs to be solid, and it needs to kind of transfer all that vibration down so that it can actually push itself off of the tabletop. And I was like, ah, that makes sense. So when he stands, he's actually not standing on the sponge portion, he's standing on the edge of the foot, and then the sponge is just kind of like, it's making contact with the edge, so I'm hoping it will wick a little bit of ink and kind of drag a portion of that spongy bottom foot section along the ground as he kind of vibrates across the tabletop. So that's what's going on there. And to show you the version of the foot with the sponge on it that didn't work, I have those up here. I made for him these guys, and these bottom chunks that are attached to the little shoe portion are seriously just like squishy sponges. So they're those makeup sponges that you use to put like face paint on your face that I guess, I don't know, people do that. So I picked up some, cut them in circles, don't work. So these just get to go in like the shelf of prototypes that didn't quite do what I expected. The other thing that I'm going to test out today that was suggested in the chat during the last stream was implementing the use of actual markers, because they already have ink within them, obviously, and they have a pointy tip. So it was suggested, well, just get some of those fat, beefy kid markers, whack the end off, and then make a foot out of those. The thing I'm going to do first, because it's going to take a while for me to print the parts, is make a holder for the end part of the marker. So I'm going to switch over to the CAD, I guess, computer view in a second and do that. But what I need to do first is actually measure the diameter of the markers themselves, and they're over here. I just got them, like, seriously 15 minutes ago at the store, like, that's down the street. So they're in a bag. Markers. So I'm just going to pull one of these guys out and measure it. So I'm using the big beefy kid markers because it makes sense to do this, I guess. They're about the actual diameter of the baby noodle's feet as they are. But I still need to 3D print a version of the shoe bit so that this can, the end piece can kind of chuck into the shoe, and then the shoe can go on the foot of the baby. But I can like design that really super fast in CAD, because I use Fusion 360 now, and Fusion 360 is a beautiful thing. Okay, so like 14... Alright, so we're looking at like 14.6 millimeters once I add the anti-kerf into the equation. Oh man, let me catch up on the chat real quick. I mean, it is very much sleepy. Oh. Oh, I'm glad. Well, Piotr, I'm happy that you are here and that you're able to make this stream. Following along with the baby's progress, I guess. Put it in a Tupperware. You have something for the cough by tomorrow morning. Oh no. For suggesting I do some crazy exotic things with an onion for the cough that I was just coughing doing. I think what I just did was like swallow my own spit into my lungs, so it wasn't like a actual congestion cough, it was just a, Sarah doesn't know how to use her vocal cords because she doesn't talk enough. Right, Mark?
Sure.
He's like, liar, she talks way too much. Can't get her to shut up. Ooh, and Piotr asked if I will collab with Micah to make Noodle, the baby Noodle, also have a feedback loop. I'm not, okay, I feel bad about this because I know, because she has mentioned it in earlier streams that she uses a drawing tablet to tell where the her vibrating bot is, to kind of have like a tracking system. I don't know a lot about it, so. Oh, and Micah's in the chat. Hi, Micah. I'm talking about you. I'm not super up to speed with how that works. Like, I don't know, maybe we will chat about that. It would be interesting at the least to make the guy move and do patterns, because eventually I would like to make multiples of these that each have their own personality, and the personality would simply be the pattern of vibrations that cause it to create a specific type of general motion. So I want to make like maybe 8 of these, and then do a piece where Noodle's standing over them and they're all just kind of buzzing around his feet doing different specific things in individual colors, and then have a big piece of paper that's sort of collecting or archiving all of that movement with the big ink smears. I don't know if I'm actually going to do something as exotic as what Micah's doing with the tablet tracking system or the feedback loop system. I'm not even really sure how that's working. I could look it up, or I could talk to her about it, I guess. But I don't know. It's something that I would be interested in learning about, because I'm not sure if I'm willing to take on trying to implement that at this point in time. Maybe, to answer your question. Used to move from frequencies or just try to set that to make it move. To answer your question, Floor asked how I'm moving him right now. I'm just PWMing the individual motors at different intervals to kind of suggest motion, different combinations of motors with different amounts of time at different, I guess, intensities. Basically anything that I can do with the Arduino test code that I have available to me. I'm using like the ramp right now, and I'm using the 4 PWM pins, and that's it. It's really dumb. It's like straightforward, and since my coding abilities are limited, I'm just sort of putting specific steps, kind of like I do with Noodle's walk gate. It's the same kind of dumb list of commands, and it goes and cycles through that. And I've only really messed around with it for like a half an hour. So if there's a better way to do it, I'll find out soon. But anyhow, check YouTube right now. Oh, please move that you're. Oh. Neil says that. Oh, I'm happy to hear that the projects inspire your daughter. That makes me happy to hear. Make more robots. There needs to be more roboticists in the world that make quirky things, so I don't know. It's granddaughter. And then Floor suggested a terrifying onion recipe for chest colds. I need to like write that down, because I will actually try it. I think I mentioned this in the past, but I actually like making weird things in the kitchen that are kind of disgusting. Not disgusting, but unusual, I guess. But you suggested onion and brown sugar, cold in the fridge, which is definitely something I would be interested to test out. Let's see. And yes, Mike, I would love to talk. I don't know. We need to talk directly more about the stuff we make, because I have a bunch of questions that I would like to ask you about what you've created. But yeah, I'm still very much just feeling my way through this, because it was literally an idea last week or something. I was like, hey, I'm gonna get some vibrating motors and shove them inside of a noodle spawn and see if it does anything, and now it's turned into a challenge in and of itself that I feel like I need to conquer before I move on to it. But anyhow, back to what I was doing. I measured this marker, and then I totally forgot what the measurement was. 14.6. Okay. So I'm going to switch over to my desktop view, and I'm going to go over here into Fusion. Oh god, no. Go away. and go into the noodle spawn. And I have all these nice things right here that are the feet. I'm going to duplicate the shoe, and this is my base shoe that I sort of use for all of the different types of feet that I'm trying. And I'm just going to add that 14.6 millimeter, it's 14.6, right? Yes, 14.6 millimeter cavity so that I can inset the tip of these markers within the shoe. And I also got, I don't know if you guys can even see this. I don't even know where you guys are. Oh man. Can you see me? Okay, you can. I got this, since this is the camera that you guys can see with right now. This is a pipe cutter. You guys know what this is. I've never had one of these before, and it's super helpful. You don't even want to know how I've been cutting things up until this point, but this is great because I don't actually have to go out back, outside to the garage to cut my shit anymore. So I'm gonna try mashing this marker with the pipe cutter in the near future. But anyhow, okay, so I duplicated my shoe bit, and I'm going to open that, and I'm going to modify this guy real quick. So this portion right here is the part that fits onto the foot of the baby. This end, I'm going to create my 14.6 millimeter, like, cavity. That should be large enough, because I think empty curve. Now it's reading exactly. I'm gonna say 14.7 just to be on the safe side. I love that you can just change that on a whim. And I know since one side of this is going to, there's going to be overhang no matter what, and I usually choose this side that fits onto the thing, whatever it is that's mounting, chucking into the shoe. There's going to be like 2 millimeters of just dead space where there's like shit hanging down because there's no support. So I am going to say I want this marker to inset, say, say 10 millimeters, and then I'll add another 2. So we'll go with 12 total. Should be enough. But I'll do 13 to be on the safe side. So I'm going to extrude that lip 13 millimeters. And that's where my marker is going to chuck. And I'm going to make this guy. I love that you can just click on the thing and then it automatically ports it into your MakerBot software. And I believe if I look at that, okay, so that is the deep side. That should be good. I'm going to go ahead and make 4 of these because I'm going to take a gamble and just sort of bank on the fact that they're going to just work. And they might not, so in which case this might not get tested before we leave for dinner, but we'll see what happens. I'm pretty sure this will work. I use the printer enough, I know what I'm doing. Oh sheesh. And this says it's going to take 50 minutes. I've got 50 minutes. So I'm going to export this guy. I think I mentioned in a previous stream that I use this terrible SD card thing, reader hub, and it was broken and I had to hold it in a very specific way to get it to work. But Mark fixed it because he knows how to open shit up and then fix all the cracked solder joints. So I don't have to do that anymore. I can take my hands off of it entirely And then I'm going to name this marker shoes 4X. I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to go back over to the screen where I can see what you guys are saying, because I can't right now. I'm just going to guess. Okay. There we go. Anyhow. Oh man, oh gosh, hang on. Scrolling up, just to make sure I didn't miss anything. Cool. Yes, we should totally, I'd love to talk, Micah. I would very much appreciate chatting about our children, our little, like, art babies, among other things. Oh, and then Smashed Up Face asked what the goal for this stream was. I guess I can state that again. I'm testing a second run of different ends for this little vibrating drawing spawn's feet. My last stream, I tested 3 different versions of shoes, I guess, with the hopes that they would allow him to both move on the surface and leave marks as he did so, but none of them worked. They actually absorbed all the vibration and he just remained stationary, stuck on the surface. So after reviewing how they didn't work, I am going to try out 2 different versions that I think will. One of them involves these sort of rook feet that have hard edges, or a hard edge at the angle that he's going to be making contact with the ground, and then there's also a sponge inside there that is kind of level with the hard edge points, I guess, and this is actually going to hold some amount of ink, but it should still move because the part that's actually making contact is the plastic. So I'm hoping with those 2 things combined, this might work, maybe. And then the other thing I'm going to do is test out using just the tips of markers. So I'm going to lob off the ends of a bunch of markers, jam them inside feet, and stick those on the baby noodle and see if those work. But in any case, marks are being made on this surface, hopefully before I leave for dinner. Probably. I'll be late. Smears are being made. But Mark is going to entertain you while I stick this in the printer and press go, because as it said a second ago, it's going to take 50 minutes to produce those 4 shoes. Talk to people. And
Everything you say, you must something.
talk about, don't talk about what you're going to do, but you should, Mark's going to start streaming too in the near future. It's a surprise.
I don't know what to talk about. Let me look at the chat. Hi, everybody. I'm going to read the chat and respond to a couple things, maybe. So Neil has a candy cannon on his dining table, but he ended up watching Sarah tinker instead. That's a cool idea. You shoot candy everywhere. Oh, she's back.
What were you talking about?
Neil has a candy cannon on his dining room table, and I guess he got distracted by watching Sarah do her things.
Wait, what? What?
Hi,
Somebody said the word Harry Potter. I don't like that.
I like Harry Potter.
Mark's, yeah. Oh, there's a person named
We're
Harry
at
Potter.
odds. Like, she doesn't like Harry Potter, but I love Harry Potter, so...
So for his birthday, he makes me watch
Yeah.
the movies. Yeah?
Kinda.
Because he loves me so very much.
I watched, what is it, Fantastic Beasts all by myself at the theater.
Because I wouldn't
It's
go.
sad. Because she wouldn't go.
Okay.
I'm going to go cry in the corner.
I'm going to go pinch your nose with this
Yeah.
pipe squeezing device. So this is, again, a pipe cutter. They're way smaller than I thought they'd be. So when I was on that show that I was on, they had a props room that had a pipe cutter, but it was like a desk-mounted, large guillotine-looking squeezy blade thing that was really, really kind of beautiful. So when he said get a pipe cutter, that's kind of what I was envisioning in my mind. Right? Yeah.
Yes.
But that's not what they look like. They look like this. Like, this fits in my hack box, so... Alright, so I said... So the cavity in my shoe that I just made is 13 millimeters deep, and like I mentioned, about 2 millimeters are going to be wasted because of the overhang, because I'm not using supports. It's okay. It still works though, I know. I've tested it. So I'm gonna have my marker, I guess, choke grip piece be inset, or have about 10 millimeters of meat hanging off, like beyond the where the cap is. So I'm gonna mark this with a rubber band, because that seems like a good way to go at this point in time. Oh no, except they're too small. Never mind. Shit, alright, I guess I am just gonna mark my marker with a marker. That works too. And then I'm gonna cut this with my pipe dealio. And this might get messy and I might end up regretting this in the end, but I don't know. It's okay. Life's full of regrets, right? Okay, so I have my thing clamped in at about 10 millimeters. Oh, Mark, everyone loves you.
Oh, thank you.
Wait, what? Mark and I have the same suggestion, and we're guys who know guy tools. Now girls are learning, listen to the guys. Wait, what? You don't have to like Harry Potter, it's not for everyone. Wait, what tools are you talking about? There's no such thing as guy tools, unless you're referring to a fleshlight. Right?
Yes.
Those are guy tools. I hope you're not talking about pipe cutters. So I have very strong thoughts about other shit. Ooh, this is cutting easily. Okay, so this is a nice tool because you just tighten it and then twist it, and then it slowly kind of scores the outside and gives you a perfect cut as you like tighten and twist. Since this is plastic, it's like cutting really easily. I was scoring and cutting copper pipe earlier today, or today and yesterday, and it took a little bit of, even though copper's soft, it was definitely, took a little bit more force than this gooey plastic. Micah says girls can use fleshlights too. Hell yeah. You're right. There is no such thing as girl and guy tools. I hope, Flora, you weren't referring to old hardware things as being guy tools, because what the hell?
That's crap.
That's crap, mister. Am I doing it wrong? He's saying I'm doing it wrong. Clamp the marker, screw the pipe cutter around it. But
Yeah, that's the other way to do it.
But this works too.
I think on bigger pipe that makes sense, but on this, when the pipe is smaller than the tool, you probably want to rotate the pipe. You don't break stuff. You could do it either way.
I use it the way it works. This works, so. Now, I'm guessing this isn't going to necessarily fall because there is a core on the inside of the marker that is pigment. It's like there's like that pigment reed on the inside, and I'm not entirely sure where that's going to, or whether or not I'm going to be able to cut all the way through that, or if I'm just going to need to cut the plastic and then kind of I'm gonna need to see if I need to cut that with actual scissors and pull the reed out. The cheerful beeps of the marshmallow board seem blissfully unaware of how bad I'm screwing up the filament rivets on the legs. Oh, is your noodle-it watching you assemble its body? Because if so, that's awesome. I make sure Noodle's awake and conscious to witness me working on most parts of him, because it feels like he should be involved, or at least aware of the process of his, I don't know, evolution, growth, I don't know. I'm actually crushing it a little bit at this point, but I guess that doesn't matter so much. Ooh. I didn't like that. I had to let it pick out its filament. Aww, Benjamin says he let his spawnling pick out its filament colors, and it went with a light gray and orange. Aww. I think it's a very safety conscious noodle. I like that. That's like an industrial safety color palette, and Noodle really likes safety yellow. That's like mommy's favorite color. Protective yellow. Oh man, it's too beefy. I've got this. I'm new to this. Oh, hi, Tony! It might not cut all the way through since it's plastic. Okay, Tony says it might not cut all the way through since it is plastic. I'm not sure. It's definitely scored pretty well, but
Is that ink in it?
it doesn't have ink. I think these have like a reed on the inside.
Your gloves, container just in case.
It's not like loose ink. There's like a. Have you ever cut open a thing?
Yeah, it's kind of wad in it, but once
Yeah.
it opens, you start handling it, you're going to get ink all over things and everything.
Mark says I should use gloves.
Maybe.
Maybe use gloves, because we're gonna be messy.
You're going to hate it.
I said until you feel no resistance anymore. Mark.
Maybe ribbed on the inside of your string, so there may be like 4 or 3 ribs. You can from breaking it out.
It's just kind of like the general same amount of resistance. It's not like it's getting any less. It's not getting any less frictiony, so. I think instead of cutting it, it's just crushing it at this point, and that's why. Because it's plastic, and it's like really weak plastic at that. Alright, I'm gonna cut it the rest of the way with not this, because it's not doing what I want it to do. Mark. Mark! Where are the scissors? Over there. Get the scissors. Okay. Come on. How hard is it to cut a plastic tube? Apparently very hard. This thing is damn near indestructible. Mark. 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 Carl! Mark. Mark! The marker is not obeying. How should I cut this? This is just deforming it. How would you cut it? You get a butcher's knife and you put it down on a cutting block.
An X-Acto or one of the box knives, just roll it a few times and it'll gouge. Go a little deeper. Just be careful because at some point it's gonna
cut myself.
Well, it's gonna crack open. You might be in the thick part of it where they compress it together.
I don't think so.
So get something safe.
Safe.
Here's a cutting mat. Right? Nobody can see anything.
That's okay.
I want something that isn't going to stain my mat, so I need a piece of paper.
Why don't you want your mat stained?
I already have a mat for that. All right.
Okay. Here.
All right. Are you? No. You can put it where Noodle's sitting, maybe.
No, that's not stable.
Is
Do
that
it
not?
there. No, it's a box.
Right.
You're gonna.
This isn't stable.
It's because there's no there.
There's things, beans.
Tony says to use a utility knife and just roll it on the
Yes.
table.
I
That's
like
that.
these because they get really long.
Yeah?
You see what I'm doing?
That's generally why I like
Right.
things too.
So I'm just gonna roll this, right? Without cutting myself open. Oh, there it goes.
Is it going?
Yeah, I feel it kind of making way.
I was just talking this morning with Mark about how
Oh,
every time I use an X-Acto knife, I end up
it's breaching. I
cutting.
think it's scored enough that'll just break at this point. So why don't you carefully, and not over your computer. There you go.
That's
Look at that.
Okay, so there's a core in there.
I'm gonna put this knife away from you.
No, I need it because I have to do this 3 more
Right,
times.
do not cut yourself.
Okay. I'm gonna try very hard not to cut myself. There's a pulpus in there. There's a pulp thing, and then there's the other wiki thing. And it looks okay. I see what that's doing. So I can actually cut this into little chunks, like charges, and then stick a chunk in the open area of the marker where that thing is kind of wicking the juice out of this, and kind of have multiple, I guess, clots of ink that I can put around this if it dries out, so it's like replaceable. So I can just sort of harvest more ink fabric from the inside of this body. Anyhow, thank you, Mark. Thank you for cutting my tip off.
Yes.
Thank you for separating my tip. So that wasn't even messy. When's the last time you've cut open a Crayola marker, man? Even. As we watch live on air, a craft knife is being used on red squirts across the screen. Yes, that would have been funny, Neil.
And then ends.
Yes. Is it blood or Crayola? We'll never know.
It just keeps running while people are panicking in the background.
Okay, so what other colors should Minty Feet doodle with? Alright, we've got red, because that was a must. I'm thinking... I tend to be partial to, like, magenta and red. I like those colors, so we're gonna go with this, even though it's probably technically more of a pink. It's pink! Okay. And if this ends up not being enough, I've got a shit ton more markers to cut up. Screw up, whatever. We've got this. Okay, so I guess the protocol for cutting marker is to score it with the pipe cutter in the incorrect way, according to a popular opinion on in the chat. And then after it's scored and it starts bending, then you just use the X-Acto knife to finish the job. You heard it here, folks. This is the proper way to castrate a marker. Is that castration? D-tip?
Bris.
Bris?
It's a bris.
Is this bris?
Bris for a moment.
Okay. That's about right. Anyhow. Keep the knife around it, because that takes time. We'll never know. Yeah. Anyhow. Okay, so on to the next one. After I'm done doing this, I'm technically supposed to test the guy that I've got in a form right here, because he's ready to go. I need a larger sheet of paper, I guess. Or I could just use that paper. Nothing wrong with that. No. Tony says, no, it's not. What's not? What are you referring to? I have a 30-second delay. It makes the chat really difficult to parse. What?
I just imagine Tony throwing things at the computer every time.
He's just saying, no, it's not. Still trying to pipe cutter. Just heat the utility knife and cut it.
Like 2 minutes in
What?
Oh, you're still cutting?
Well, I'm doing the next one.
I see. Patience.
Patience. If I can avoid using force on anything with a sharp anything, I will do that. So we were just talking about it this morning. Anytime I need to use an X-Acto knife, I end up cutting myself. Like, probably 80% of the time. It's bad. Okay. Tony says what I was talking about 45 seconds prior, but now it's more than 45 seconds, because, or is the chat instant? I don't actually know. Was I talking about castration? Like, what weird thing was I talking about that you said no, it's not? Okay. I appreciate the suggestions. I'm probably not going to clamp anything down because that involves moving my screen in a weird way. Like, because I already have this set up in my little universe and I don't really have a lot of room. I know we have clamps, and I could probably just clamp it to the table right here or something, but this is fine. I can get this to work with little... This suits my needs for the moment. I didn't think this would take so long. Probably as good as it's gonna get. Alright. Don't cut yourself, Sarah. I want to see some smears you could sell noodle art. Noodle art? It's like when you... Smashed Up Face suggested that I could sell the art that Noodle, the baby Noodle, ends up making. That'd make me feel like one of those parents that, like, gets their dog or their toddler and then dips their body in paint and has them randomly walk across pages and then sells that as, like, brilliant art and it works. So I should do that.
You should probably exploit your offspring.
That's what I do with Noodle. Okay. Alright, Sarah, don't... Mark, do you want to be my marker cutter? You don't have to. Roll and pull.
Yeah, roll and pull.
You have to
Roll
roll it
and
and
pull.
pull it. Yeah? Mark. Mark! Okay, it's kind of giving.
You could crack it now. I wouldn't cut all the way through.
No. I'm being very ginger with
Don't
it.
do that near your chest because you're just going to get red everywhere by accident.
But I'm wearing black.
Okay. Not strain so hard that you flip something on it. You feel it good?
No. No. Yes. Come here. Come here, marker boy.
Marker boy, you cut your hand and I'll drive you to the hospital.
After we get pizza.
After pizza? Just
After the pizza.
hold a rag on my hand while I...
Get the pizza. He's just kind of like...
Well, I'm trying to keep my hands away from the blade. Because, there it goes.
It's going. You have to see the moment that the breach occurs.
That blade looks off. I just want to make it rescore it properly.
Mm. It's like getting the fruit out of the seeds out of the fruit or something.
Tastes like Tide Pods! Alright.
Thank you, honey. Thanks, dear. Okay. There, 2. That's 2. As soon as I hear the printer finish, I'll go running and get my little shoe pieces off of the print bed, and then I can jam these up inside of his feet. The ends. Sploosh. I like the word sploosh. Short circuit the pipe cutter and cut. Such a large workshop, so little usable workspace. Such a shame. Thanks, Tony! I know. You just like pointing it out. It's...
Oh, who's the Tony guy?
Who's that Tony guy? You just... Gosh.
Just hit the block button.
Mark says I should mute you. I know him.
Report.
Report. Put on timeout. There's a timeout feature.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yep. That's not demeaning. I'm kidding. We know Tony IRL, so it's okay. We say it's okay. Hear it, wait for it, smear's coming, damn. She changed her mind. Oh, are you referring to me not cutting it myself? Maybe I'll be able to do this one a little bit better. We have a chef's knife. Or a decent utility knife. There are knives that we could use, I'm not willing to get ink all over most of them, because they're kitchen knives. And shop is heaven for me, still missing some trousseau. Yes, the workshop's nice, but it's got too much unused stuff stored within it at this point in time. Otherwise, it is a nice space. Mark needs to go through all of his boxes.
Yeah, I gotta go clean up fast. After this next PC board.
Yeah, the one you're working on
I've
now?
been saying that for a year.
Yeah. I can second that. He's been saying that for a year.
Maybe 20 circuit boards.
Mark's a circuit-making machine.
Counting work, I made about 50 circuit boards this year. Yep.
This one's cut. It looks like I cut this with my feet. Noodle's okay with that. He says he could only cut things with his feet, but if Mommy does something and it looks like she cut it with her feet, that is a problem. Okay. It should be good. Ah! Is it Kobe clips? You said you cleaned up my Noodle walk code? I think I saw that you messaged me about that, and I will respond. I need to like sit down and work on that and assess it, and then I will chat with you about that. So hold that thought. Right now I'm getting a spawn printed so I can try to figure out a gate. Ah. Ah, it's an interesting tool. I don't know if it'll help very much. The spawn doesn't have the same range of motion as the big one. It just has the the lifting motion. But I will chat with you about the gate. I think I rubbed my face in that coat a little bit more on Wednesday, on Walking Wednesday, and then I switched gears. I try to stick to one thing a day, and Tuesday was my last stream where I worked on the painting noodle. Wednesday was big noodle. Thursday I worked on the jelly. Yesterday I worked on the jelly with a little bit of intermittent doings on my next comic page, because I do need to remember to draw during the week as well, otherwise my story isn't going to go anyplace. So I've got a lot of shit going on at the same time, it occurs to me. Yeah, so does Mark. I don't know if you do, because I've never seen you solder anything but use a fan to blow away the fumes they cause cancer. Thank you. I do solder. I mean, I solder a lot, but terribly. Definitely, at the very least, not as good as this guy. But I have a solder station. Mark has a solder station, and we both have fans. His has actual proper ventilation. Mine just kind of sucks the air away from where I'm soldering. But I'm pretty sure, that being said, that most things in this room cumulatively cause pretty bad cancer. There's like, this room's toxic. I mean, it's not generally toxic constantly, but like at any given time throughout the week, it's got all sorts of shit smells inside of it. And not all of them are caused by Mark. Some of them are just caused by chemicals and stuff. The 3D printer is luckily in the other room, because I think when I was fulfilling my Kickstarter, or our Kickstarter, fulfilling the Kickstarter that Mark and I partook in 3 years ago, we did all of the printing, and the printer was in this room the entire time, running for like a year straight, and I just sort of lived in here with it, and I think I developed either an allergy to PLA or asthma or throat cancer or lung cancer or something, but I can't like sit with a printer that's printing PLA while it's running for more than like 5 minutes without getting that cobblestone feeling in my throat or feeling kind of asthmatic. So yeah, it's good to keep the fumes away from you. I'm a fire safety guy. It's my duty to inform you about the dangers of the work you do. Well, thank you. I'm glad that you are concerned.
You should go take the OSHA 10 test, Sarah.
He had to take OSHA 10, and now he knows all about cleaning up bodily fluids. And
ventilating the workspace.
Yes, and ventilating the workspace.
And wearing a harness
and
while cleaning up bodily fluids.
If you need somebody to wear a harness while cleaning up bodily fluids, this guy,
yep,
he can help you with that.
My stripper name is Trip Hazard. Sorry.
So one of the things Mark and I are going to do is when he starts streaming his stuff that he's planning to do, one of the segments that he's going to do immediately following my stream is during the segments where I assemble a board, which I've done a couple in the past, where I get a board in, and the day I get the board in from the fab, I put all the components on it and test it and everything, and it takes me like 3 hours. And then I give the board to Mark, and he spends like a half an hour to 45 minutes fixing all the solder bridges and bullshit that are on the crap that I've done, because I refuse to use the microscope. And he utilizes that tool, as you should. And
they call it like fascist solder repair hour.
Yes. So he's going to basically roast me for a half an hour.
Yes.
Streaming immediately following, yeah, when I put together a board. Because yeah, one of the things I did recently was I attached all of the stranded wire bits to the bulbous board, my first test bulbous board, which is It's a tiny little PCB that has pads on the top of it that wires are supposed to solder to. But I attached all the wires around the perimeter of this board, but I didn't tin any of the wires before I attached them. So there was literally a solder bridge between each and every pad, because the moment that I soldered all of the stranded wire to the pads, all the little fronds went out like this, like little toesies, and then like stuck down to the pads, and they're all crossed like this. And I gave the board to Mark to look at once I was done, and I walked in the room, and he was looking through the microscope, and he lifted his head and looked at me with this face that was...
my best Gordon Ramsay.
Like, I literally thought he wanted to break up with me.
This is fucking crap.
He was just like, no, you weren't even faking anything. You weren't even, you were just like disgusted, and you're like, this is shit.
Out.
This is shit. Like, I thought you were gonna kick me out of the house that night.
But I was being affectionate, I thought.
No.
I was not.
No, you were. I thought you were gonna kick me out of the house and make me sleep in the driveway or something. Like, he was that stern. He was not cool. But yeah. Oh, Pukage has asked what he has missed. I am working on the second wave of feet attachments that are going to actually make marks when this little vibrating artist robot is turned on this time. So I have transistors hooked up to the little breadboard with the motors plugged into them so I can control them all individually. And I'm just going to turn them on and see if any of these new feet attachments that I've made for him can facilitate in him moving and also smear making at the same time. Because the first wave of feet attachments, none of them worked. And that is what I did during my last stream involving this guy. So the goal of this stream is to get the baby smearing. Right, Mark?
Yes.
Mark, do you want to come cut this marker again so I don't harm myself on camera? Maybe? Maybe? P is stored in the balls? Wait, what?
I'm here. That sounds interesting.
He said that the insanity is trying the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Floor, I'm not expecting different results. This is a good way to... I have to score it, and then the blade runs along the groove, because there's a channel that's etched perfectly around the band. So I know this isn't going to cut it, but it's leaving a groove in the marker so that when he takes the X-Acto knife, it follows that groove and makes a nice clean cut.
That makes it a lot easier.
So I'm scoring this as deep as I can get it and then giving it to him. So...
Deep score.
And then P is stored in the balls. Mark.
That makes no sense.
Mark says no, it's not. He says you were wrong, sir. Tony, I don't know if you're in the stream anymore. Tony, if you're in the stream, I got you a present today. It came from Walgreens.
So you know it's high quality.
Walgreens. But you'll love it.
Child labor.
These are like Valentine's Day colors. It's perfect. Oh, so, on, there. Thank you. Thank you, honey.
Are you good?
Are you ready to eat pizza?
Yes.
So I have to do this one more time. I should stack these up here so you can see the fruit of our labors. So
Noodle's new feet.
we now have 3 tips and pulp.
What's getting actually the business end? Is it those?
This, I'm going to pull the cap off, and then these are getting chucked inside of the foot.
Oh, you're going to chuck it? Okay, I was thinking you'd make the whole foot out of that. Would have been cool.
Mm.
You could have just clamped around the top with your little... Would have been a whole new mechanism, but...
For the sake of imposing them on the thing I've already got, the shoes are the way to go right now.
Okay.
But maybe for another, I'll try to make another iteration of
Could
this.
you do a version that uses the full pen?
These could be the feet. These could be noodle feet.
Just little clamps with one screw, and it tightens and it clamps it in, or something.
Or snaps them. That'd be cool.
I could do that. I could. I'm like thinking of that now. Okay, so for the next iteration of the doodling noodle baby, I'm going to attempt to take tubes like this that already come with the marking device and hack them into noodle appendages somehow. I don't even know if that's doable. There'd still need to be a significant amount of like 3D printed like support shit for the sake of mounting the feet to the legs, but whatever. I'm gonna dream about that tonight. How I would do that, because it would be really cute to just see a little baby noodle with like little marker stop feet buzzing around. Tony asked if you should be worried. I'm assuming you're referring to the gift I just cited having gotten you earlier today. I'm just gonna go with yes. You should be very afraid. Yeah, and the noodle, Game of Knowing says this noodle baby is getting tall. Yes. I mean, the cap won't be attached, but once this is chucked into the shoe and then put on him, yeah, it might give him a pretty decent height as opposed to his previous feet that I tried out on him earlier last week. Let's see. Should he be worried, he asks. Ha! Tony, you should totally be worried. It's from Walgreens, dude. You should be terrified. And I got 3 for 1. It's one of those sorts of things. You'll see. So for noodle feet, use the ball pen principle, cut the inside of those markers into pads, and use marbles to transfer it from the pad to the workpiece. I could do that. I'd have to make a 3D printed part that would hold the marble as a bearing. That might be worth investigating. That's a good suggestion. I might try to implement a ballpoint pen type foot. If these don't work as well as I want them to, then that will be the next thing that I try for the third meditation on this smeary feet. Just let the magic smoke out of a hard drive. Why? What were you doing to the hard drive to make it smoke, Tony? The spawnling is proud and strong. Oh, good. Roydroid says are you referring to this one or one that you made? Because if it's this one, then yes, he is proud and strong. And if yours is proud and strong, then they can be proud and strong together. Can't stay long to look at the stream. Well, Kobe Clips, hey, we'll talk about the walk gate on Wednesday again. So thank you for helping me out with my code and looking at it. But I'll see you around. A little bit more half of a sphere. Okay, so before I read the rest of the chat and catch up, what should be my 4th color? So right now I've got purple, red, and magenta, and those are very Valentine's Day-y colors, I think. And to go with the Valentine's Day theme, I'm going to pick brown as my 4th color. Right, Mark?
Wait, what?
Well,
brown.
Yeah.
Definitely a brown.
Valentine's Day?
It's Valentine's brown.
Yeah? Okay. Anyhow. P is stored in the womb. I'm just gonna not even mute that guy because I'm amused by his harassment. So 3D printing is just a little bit more sphere so we can press the marbles out inside. The final product is going to be so cute, I can't wait. Aw. Noodle stilettos. I like that. My mom would like that. If I told my mom that Noodle had some Donald Pliners. Is that Donald Pliner? Am I citing that right?
What are you talking about?
Shoes.
I don't know shoe brands.
Hey, Anthony. What about using stamps? Harry Potter? I feel weird calling you Harry Potter. I dig it. The stamps, I tried making stamp type feet that have like squishy, cushiony, pillowy bottoms, and the stamp material actually absorbs all the vibration and makes the noodles stationary. So what I need, the secret sauce, is finding something that facilitates in movement and transferring. Wow. Transferring.
You gotta write that one down.
Transferring. I should write that one down. Things that come out of my mouth while I'm talking fast. They need to transfer the vibration to the surface that he's standing on in a nice way. So that means that structure needs to be solid and firm. And there also needs to be some other component that allows ink to kind of either brush on the surface or transfer through the tip onto the surface in some way, or just, I guess, be a marker tip, which is why I'm trying them. Anyhow, I'm supposed to be cutting this with my tool. And then, the Earth is clearly round. Yes, it is. Make sure the bearing is a little bigger than that. Grab the wrong power supply. Oh god. What was the hard drive for, Tony, that you, I guess, smoked? And how off was the voltage that you were attempting to run it with? 20,000. Red, orange. Oh, hi! I'm gonna Lord Grease, Earl of Maggot. Welcome back. Welcome back to the festivities. Transferring another lord. Lord Julius Jenkins. We have 2 lords in the chat now.
Oh, Jenkins.
Yes. What are you using to cut the markers? Is that a pipe cutter? Yes, Game of Knowing. I'm using a pipe cutter, and there's been already much debate today as to whether or not this is the appropriate way to cut markers. What I have learned is that no, this is not the correct way to cut markers, but this combined with the X-Acto knife is doing the job. This is just kind of putting the groove where it needs to be. And I think I just heard the printer is done printing just in time. Good timing, Sarah. Way to take a simple task and fill 50 minutes with it. Okay. What do you mean, trust me, don't? Are you referring to the fact that you're giving me advice that I'm, like, intentionally not taking? Because I reserve the right to not listen to all advice, although a lot of it is helpful. Sometimes I will take it, but sometimes it's just, this is what I've got to work with, and I'm going to do it my way. And hopefully not hurt myself in the process. No. They're just giving me a hard time. Assuming because I'm not listening to what everyone's saying. What? Not listening?
No.
If Sarah does it, it becomes either a Quentin Tarantino movie or a Stephen King movie? Okay. I'm funny. Thank you. I'm funny and I'm getting pizza soon. The pipe cutter works. I mean, you should use this before trying to just cut it with the X-Acto knife, because if you just try to whack through it with the X-Acto, it isn't going to necessarily be a perfectly straight through cut. It could be wonky and at an angle, and if I'm doing it, and even as good as Marquez, if he was doing it, it wouldn't probably be a perfect cut. So this makes what he's doing to help me out a little bit easier. Plus I just want to use my new toy. Like, I just literally bought this like 2 days ago, so this gives me an excuse to hold something in my hand and just kind of like twist it and know that it's being like cut and suffocated. Right, Mark?
What?
It's like I'm doing that thing that you do to cigars. This isn't what you do to cigars. Don't listen to me. Oh shit. This one just popped out.
Yeah, because
I'm squeezing it too tight. Here, cut this. I'm gonna go get the noodle shoes.
oh my God.
And now for Mark's cutting session with anecdotal commentary
what
about
popped the cat?
nothing. You just need to cut it with
Oh.
the X-Acto.
Don't.
Alright, I'll be
I
right.
will cut you.
I will be right back.
Mark's cutting hour. Sarah is off to the printer to get her next print off the bed.
That's perfect.
Perfect.
What?
Perfect.
Perfect. Don't harm yourself. I love you too much to see you bleed.
There.
Okay. Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
You're the best at cutting my brown.
Bestest.
He did the brown. So, okay. That gives us 4 colors. We have 4 of the feet pigment things. Yeah. They're all ready to go. And then I just pulled these off the print bed. They're the shoes that that are gonna chuck the markery bits, or the markery bits are gonna chuck into the shoes. Chucking is happening now. I'm gonna stick these right here for the time being. Oh man. Thank you again for joining me today, guys. I appreciate your company. This is nice. Oh my god, I can't even write properly. I can't write properly anymore either. Huh? Why don't you just take the cap off, put it in the drill, and use a drill to cut the marker with the pipe cutter? I don't know. Anyhow, moving on.
Very clean cut.
These shoes look nice. They're happy little shoes. I like 3D printing. I'm a fan. Okay, so the deep end that has the overhang sloping roof is the side that the marker tips are going to chuck into. The opposite side is going to stick onto the feet of this guy. So I'm going to do the brown one first because I like brown, but this is going to fit in here like that. And they fit. Told you I was good. The anti-kerf on our printer is like exactly 0.25 millimeters, so if I add that to like everything, it just sort of universally works. Oh, I pushed it on even deeper. Okay, so even better. So that fits in there perfect with that extra millimeter to spare, because I made them 13 instead of 12. Yeah! Who's good? Raptor is good. Good Raptor. Okay. So these are going on. You know it, Mark. This one actually could be yeah, it even goes on better. Mark. Marker. Marker. Perfect. Okay, so the marker caps fit on the feet perfectly. Look at this, Mark. Look at that. Feet.
Oh, they're perfect.
They're perfect.
Very nice.
Perfect set of feet. Look at that. They're like little, I don't know what these would be, lipstick things. Dear pizza. Okay, so these are all ready to go. And all I need to do is whack off a little piece of, I guess I could have done that first, so I need to yank these out and then stick the pigment in, although whatever's in here, the charge that's in the marker already on that little wick piece will probably be enough for what I'm using them for right now. I am, however, going to wrap some plastic wrap around these and stick them in a bag so that they don't dry out. I can do that after the stream, so you don't have to watch me. Hopefully I remember, because I'm probably going to run out the door in a hurry because we're going to pizza, and pizza sounds really good right now. Anyhow, okay, so the thing that I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn him on and see if he buzzes and zips around still, now that he has these little crown feet on, the little rook feety feets that were, again, suggested by my friend Tony, who might still be in the chat, but he suggested them during the previous stream, and we're going to give those a go right now. I've got the external power supply that's going to be powering the circuit that I've got here, and for the moment I just have all of the feet turning on at the same time, just because. So they're not going to be doing any fancy patterns or movements, but I'm going to unplug this and see. Okay, so he's going to be running at 3 volts. I don't know if you can see that very clearly, but it's just going to be running at a 3 when I turn it on. And we're going to see if he does his little noodle dance when I turn it on. Mark, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Oh. Why nothing? Oh, do I have to plug the Arduino in?
Yes.
Okay. Shit! Okay, where's your programmer? Or wait, my programmer would probably work. Oh man, I just need a USB cable. Man, that's anti-climactic. Where's the USB? I have it. I've got it. I will leave it. So I discovered during my last stream that certain peripherals only work in certain slots, because I did this thing where I went to upload code to Doodle and show off his current walk gait, and it didn't work, and I had no idea why. And I did all this troubleshooting only to find that when I unplugged the USB cable, he suddenly was okay again and wasn't acting all weird and shut off. Which is kind of... Wait, this isn't what I need. Power from my laptop to the pizza, so that the Arduino has power, and then I can turn this on and he'll hopefully shake. Yay! Oh, that's right. Okay, so he has the fade on him. Yeah?
What's he going to be drawing next?
Yes.
That's terrifying. That's like a sounding.
Okay, so these right, so of the 2 qualifications that the shoes need to have or allow for, this one definitely passes the movement test, so the vibration does transfer down through the foot, through the shoe, to the ground, and shake and allow the baby to dance. So I'm going to give that one mommy's thumbs up, seal of approval for the feet that were suggested by Tony. Tony, you get a present for your suggestion. Does that sound terrifying? Good, I'm glad. Good, terrifying's awesome. Fuck yeah, thumbs up. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to charge these feetsies up with ink, and I'm going to have him actually do some smears. So the second thing I'm testing is, now that I know they allow him to move, whether or not the feet actually will store a charge of pigment so that as he moves he leaves an actual trail, 4 little trails in his wiggly wake. So I'm gonna go get some ink. Mark, what should I use for ink? I have ink.
Isn't the pens already inked?
Not the sponges on the feet is that.
Oh, those things. These are ink pads.
I don't know, where's my ink box?
Your ink box? Or the pad? That's not your ink box right there?
No.
One of those other boxes down below says Sarah Inks.
Let's get that out to the garage.
No.
I think
Oh, you did, yeah.
you can go to the garage real quick and grab my box. Please. I left my ink in the garage, which is like in the back a ways. So Mark is going to go and grab my ink for me because he's wonderful, and while he's doing that, I'm going to talk a little bit about the jelly because I haven't done a stream regarding my other project in a while, but I have been making progress on it since the last time I made the terrible board that had all the solder bridges and frayed wiry bits attached to the pads. The thing that I've been working on primarily, though, is the drive mechanism that goes in the middle of my miniature jelly. That's this guy right here. So this is basically a linear pulley system that is going to allow the jelly to move and undulate like a jellyfish ought to do, but it's going to be pulley activated. And the previous pulley system I had, I guess I can grab this. So this guy right here, this is the one that I built during one of my earlier streams, I think maybe a week and a half ago, 2 weeks. And this is the first fully assembled jelly, mecha jelly, with the bulbous board inside, complete with all of the RGB LEDs wired to the brain board that's at the top in the center here. This guy, although the electronic portion works at this point, the mechanism that drives the actual tendrils of the jelly does not. And that is because of the whole pulley mechanism on the inside. I've gone ahead and done 2 redesigns of that system since this iteration. So this is the first fully assembled jelly and drive system. This would be, I think, actually no, this is the second fully assembled drive system. This would be the third, and this magenta one would be the fourth. The fourth is the only one that works, and it is significantly different than these other 2 right here. I'm going to put this down. Because I took some advice and I designed it a bit differently. It doesn't have the exact type of motion that I'm looking for, but it at least functions like it's supposed to. Thank you, honey. So it actually actuates quite smoothly now, but it's just the top ring. I need to figure out how to get the other one moving. So one of my future streams in the near future, probably this week, will involve getting this guy up to speed and then installing some of those fancy frond tendrils on him with the LEDs. So that's to come. Is like a, I don't know, what is that? A teaser? It's a teaser. And then here are this guy's tendrils. So they're all pretty magenta and red and they match. So those are going to get installed on this guy this week. Yeah? But anyhow, Mark has gone and retrieved my box of wet things. So this is, it smells terrible, but okay. I don't know what color I'm going to use. Okay, so I need something really wet and juicy that's going to show up. Which, amazingly, a lot of these inks are like silver, and that doesn't do me any bit of good. Mark, what do I do? Should I cut myself and then let Noodle's feet absorb my blood?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I thought. Something water-based would be really nice too, since I kind of want this to wash out. I have an entire box of Doc Martin watercolors behind me. I could potentially use those, but that's incredibly expensive pigment, and I don't want to waste a whole metric ton of it just to test out on his feet, although I could dilute it with water. Should I do that?
Is diluting gonna make it not
Visible? What are people in the chat talking about? Aw, everyone says the baby noodle sounds like a giant angry dog. Aw. Oh, Noodle, baby Noodle's first words are purr purr. He's like a little dinosaur baby. Sorry, I'm just catching up with the chat real quick. Wet and juicy. I could just use the markers. That's the intent. I have to test both though. Just watch. I know what I'm doing. I'm testing out the rook feet first to see if these work when they're charged with ink, because I think these might give me a little bit more of a smear, which is what I'm going for, versus the markers, which are just going to give me like a line because they're markers and they have a pointy tip. So if these work, they're actually going to be a little bit closer to the desired effect. However, if the markers just work, then that's a low-hanging fruit, and I can just kind of default to that if nothing else works. So, or nothing will work, and I'm going to keep trying at this until I find something that gives me what I'm looking for. But I think I really want to avoid using acrylic paint because once that dries in those sponges, it's like game over. They're never going to absorb anything ever again. So what I think I'm going to do is I am going to use some of my Doc Martin ink because that's all I've got at the moment. If you don't know what Doc Martin ink is, it's this dye that's used for doing watercolor that's like really super nice and bright and probably incredibly toxic, and I've been using it my entire life because it gives you this really great vibrance when you're making paintings, and that's my background, is in doing like 2D rectangle art. So there was a whole portion of my existence that was like focused like incessantly on making watercolored comic-y looking rectangles. But I don't think I've touched this shit in like, I'm gonna say 10 years. So maybe 8, I don't know. It's been a while. So I'm gonna crack some of these open and hopefully they're still good. What luck! Okay, so luckily I have 2 scarlets. So these are both the same color, and one of them looks like it's almost empty. I don't know if you can see that in the light, but there's like a tiny little bit left in this bottle. I'm gonna go ahead and use some of this diluted with a tiny bit of water because this shit's potent. But the fun thing about this is that when he smears, this is going to look like blood. And somebody mentioned in the chat a second ago that no one pays attention unless you mention the words cut or blood. So in the theme of Valentine's Day and blood cutting and scoring things with pipe cutters and X-Acto knives, I'm going to have little baby Tyrannosaurus Rex Noodle's first smears be in the appropriate pigment color. Right, Mark?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to get a little lid or something. Oh man, do you have a lid anywhere offhand?
Lid?
Or like a container that I can put ink in?
Plastic.
Yeah.
Something. What do we have?
I have a thing for it.
Thing?
Got it. Okay, I have a cup. A cup. Alright, I'm going to put the ink in this, and then I'm going to dip his feet in the ink. And they're going to be his inky shoes. So I probably only need, like... That's not coming out very easily. Is it working? Okay. I put 5 drops of that stuff in there, and I'm gonna fill it the rest of the way with water, because this shit's really, really potent. It's like saffron or something. It's a very strong tinty dew. I'm sorry I'm not keeping up with the chat. I'm trying to move this along. But okay, I'm gonna go grab a tiny bit of water from the kitchen real quick to stick in this. Mock.
Yeah.
Commercial break. If you want, you don't have to. Yep. You don't have to just sit there and talk about
Hi, people.
talk about French toast.
French toast. Yeah. A second? Okay.
So Sarah asked me to talk to you about French toast, and what that means is on Fridays we have friends come over to the house, and we make French toast and drink beer. So it's like uber carbo loading, but every week we do a different French toast. So like bananas and Nutella, or PB&J we did 2 weeks ago, and she's back and she's fondling me, so I'm gonna get out of the way.
And there.
French toast is sacred in this house.
It is.
It's a rite.
It's a tradition.
It's a tradition.
Rite of passage.
Okay, so I have a little shot glass filled with some juice, and I'm gonna dip this guy's feet in the juice. Oh, Mark, can I get this board dirty? I think you gave it to me. I don't know what it was from.
Yeah, I would. Yes,
Okay. Or should I put paper on here so it's reusable?
Spray some Scotch Brite in it.
Should I use paper? I'll use paper.
Yeah, use a water even, just so it's not too messed up. I don't know how toxic that ink is.
I wouldn't eat it.
Look at.
I would not lick this ink by any means. Oh man, the chat's like flying by. Please have some of Gravity Road's French toast. Okay guys, I'm gonna do it. Alright, so that sponge has thoroughly absorbed the ink. Oh wow, they absorbed way more of that than I was expecting. Play, little guy. Alright, I'll be right back. I'm gonna get more of this. He sucked it up already. You little scamp. I'm like, I love that I'm using like some piece of my art youth in the development of one of my robots. It titillates some deep part of me. Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, last foot. Get your juice. nice red. Okay. Alright guys, now for the money shot. If you're ready for it. Doesn't matter, if you just have this on in the background, you're going to hear the motors very energetically spring to life here in a second. I'm going to set this guy down. Right there. Make sure all of his legs are making contact. Okay, so Minty has his little rook feet on with the sponges embedded in the middle, and I've just loaded them with some Scarlet Fancy Pants ink, and I'm about to turn the power supply on, and he should spring to life and hopefully smear. So that's the desired effect, is that he starts making smears. I wonder if I should tape the paper down. Do you think that's necessary? Doesn't matter. Okay, here it goes. Fingers crossed. Okay, here it goes. I'm gonna look at the chat after. Oh no! He's not moving! He's at 3.
Scoot that foot and bring it to there. Is that not running?
I don't know. No, it is.
I think it needs some bigger motors.
Okay, so it seems like 3 of his feet are moving, and one of them is kind of stuck stationary.
Take the second little paper away.
Okay, so that's not...
You might need something that's less, something more solid, because the vibration's just creating like a spring effect against the board.
Yeah. Should I put a book
And the
on
paper, yeah, somebody said the paper is preventing it from moving. You probably need something more slick. Something like that. Check the mirror. You have mirrors down there?
I love how...
Just put the mirror there. Now you don't have a drawing thing, but that's okay.
I love how I couldn't find ink in this whole room, but there's just a mirror, like, right there.
Flatten his feet out.
Like this?
Yeah. See if that actually has any effect. Probably not. Will he stay stable? Probably not. Probably need a tether for him. Nope.
Noodle.
Lord Julius will come back later. The ink is sticky. Yes, I think Floor has it. Yeah, the moisture of the ink isn't letting it glide now. Do you think like a deeply colored lube would work?
A deep. Should I get some Astroglide and then tint it red?
Yeah, you could do that.
Because I just use water on this.
That's probably not a bad idea. Just dip his feet real quick in it.
Also, what I think happened, so since I'm... Okay, so what I think happened.
Oh, I'm reading your text.
Okay, so what I think happened, now that I'm looking at it and assessing the feet, and this makes sense to me now, so I don't know why I didn't like prepare for this, but the sponge that's in the inside of the little rook feet swelled once I stuck it in the ink. So instead of it being perfectly flush with the hard plastic rim of the rook pieces, it just kind of, it got bigger, like it almost grew inside of the bottom of his feet by like, I don't know, 50%. So where it was not poking out or protruding past the edge of the bottom of his foot before, it is now. And that is, again, creating the same problem as I had with these feet, where once this makes more contact to my surface than the edge of the foot, there's no motion is going to happen. So the one that was kind of sticking on the ground, I think stuck a little bit because of the paper and ink reacting. There's like a stickiness there, but I think it was mostly because the sponge is now poking out. Like you can, I don't know if you can see that. Probably not as, I need to get another camera. God. Yeah, there's they're fat. They got all plump because they're wet. That's what happens when your sponges get wet. They plump. But anyhow, okay, so I'm gonna put gloves on, and then I'm gonna pull these feet off of the or the shoes off of the feet, and then give my newly made marker tips a try, because I think I'm gonna need to cut some of these sponges down a little bit thinner, and kind of give this whole thing another go. But it's gonna come at the, oh wait, that might have been the problem. Damn. A little better. Noodle, we're getting your mirrors all dirty. No. Alright. Okay, so I'm going to print some more of those rook pieces, and I'm going to slim down some sponges, and I'm going to jam those up inside of the feet, but those probably won't get tested until my next stream. I'll do like a second revision of those, because I haven't given up on this idea yet, because it does kind of seem like I could coax it into working. And yes. Alright, but yeah, so basically, pads swelled once they got wet. They're absorbing the vibration now. I need to, it's a physical problem at this point, and it needs to be tweaked based on the squishing, the expanding that happened. So, anyhow, I'm going to remove these shoes. I'm like really cautious with this stuff now. When I was young and used this ink, I used to literally bathe in it, practically. Not bathe in it, but like I got it all over my hands. Probably explains a lot about me. But I'm gonna be a little bit more respectful towards it now. It hasn't killed me yet, so. I love putting on gloves. Anyhow. I feel like I should put these in a bag or something. Okay. They can go on. The feet can go with the painting that Noodle, the baby Noodle, just made. So the fun thing about this is that he did make his first smear. So this was Baby Noodle's first art. And you can kind of see the dots where the feet kind of stayed put for a second or two. It's kind of like a nice dot intermittent line effect. So it's descriptive of the movement that took place, which I like. And I think that's due in part by the fact that I thinned the ink down. If I hadn't done that, it would have just been one solid color, but since it was, I think, like 2 parts water to 1 part pigment, that allowed for that nice kind of transparent line, and then the solid dot where Noodle rested momentarily, which is kind of cool. So I can kind of take that into account when I start making, start trying to get these guys to make different types of effects with their vibrating feet. The pauses in the vibration will cause for darker markings than when Minty's moving. So I guess I should say this too. I'm referring to this version of the spawnling as the Doodle feet spawnling, but this particular one is named Minty because of his story. So this is a Doodle spawn, and his name is Minty. And when I make more of them, they'll have different names, but they'll all be Doodle feet, if that makes any sense. But I'm gonna dip down and look at the chat really quick because I realize I haven't read what you guys are talking about in a minute. I guess I can save these, but I can kind of gingerly pluck them off. Yes, they're sticky, yes, swelling. So you guys are basically observing a lot of the same things happening as I am. So that's good. Everyone's like, yes, it is these things. I like the Noodle spawn. I like his art too. Did you know resistant? Oh, yes, this was made with a neon sign transformer at the SuperCon last year, I'm sorry. Will. There's a guy in the rotation of hackery makery people that goes to conferences named Will, and he had a workshop at SuperCon this year that involved making coasters with neon sign transformers and saline water. And as dangerous and unsafe as that probably was in hindsight, we have some nice coasters to show for the trouble, right, Mark?
Yes, that was a fun, dangerous weekend.
I made a couple extras, so I'm just using this one. I adhered my Arduino and my mini proto board to it because it makes a nice work thing. I'm just like trying to get a glove off my hand. I'm sorry. Oh, Smashed Up Face said they missed the smearing. I'm about to test the next. There wasn't really a lot of smearing. The feet didn't smear particularly well, but they did a little bit, and I think it was due in part because of the sponges swelled, and then once the sponges absorbed the liquid and swelled, they made contact with the paper surface and kind of tacked it down and stuck it in place, because more sponge was making surface contact than the hard, rigid plastic edge of the foot, and that threw everything off. So I'm going to do another version where I either trim down the size of the thickness of the sponge, or I elongate the plastic edge a little bit more to, I don't know, compensate for the amount that the sponge is going to swell, I guess. So, alright, I'm gonna stick these, again, these are the marker feet that I just made for the baby onto his legs now. And we're going to test the marker tips and see how they perform. And my guess is that these are going to work pretty well. But I've been wrong every single time that I've thought that, so I don't know shit. This is going to work great. And again, I picked colors that are descriptive of Valentine's Day. That's red, pink, purple, and brown. Yeah? You heard it here, folks. It's not really going on all the way, but that's okay. And here's the brown one. Brown gets to be foot 4. The brown foot. Wow, he looks tall like that. Mark, check that out.
Oh yeah.
Noodle is a giraffe.
Like fashion model Noodle.
Minty, you are a fashion. That is adorable. Should I stick a battery in his head so he can beep while he draws?
Sure, why not?
Okay, we're gonna turn Minty on. This is actually Minty's first consciousness. Like, he got his own marshmallow board in his head. It's like his own dedicated marshmallow. I didn't borrow it from some other thing. So he gets to keep this brain. Here's a food source. The battery. It's gonna go in his head. I'm gonna take your head off. Sorry. I have a method to doing this. Okay, Minty. Where's this thing? Okay, positive. Positive. Okay, so this is, he's gonna be conscious for the first time. Here it goes. There we go. Ah. Okay, so he gets to be aware of his mark making. Right? Okay. There we go. Oh, this just come right out. Oh, that sucks. Well, that's lame. Those just come right out there when I try to take the caps off. Oh well. That one didn't. Okay. Brown. Holy dear pizza. Some of those are hard to get off. Mark, check that out. His marker feet, they're the best. Will you, all right, new sheet of paper. And the noodle is down. He's ready to go. That was just his all systems go beep. Yeah? All right, I'm gonna turn him on. Moment of truth. Oh! Mark. Yeah?
Oh yeah, the point definitely helped, didn't it? So you just use the original markers?
Yeah.
Tilt the glass to make them bigger.
He's beeping. He knows he's making art. That one foot's like tapped down. Oh god.
So now, yeah, you can play with code to make him. So run the motors at vastly different speeds and see what
happens.
That's pretty cool.
You still get that dot though. There's like a kind of like a what are they, seismograph?
Resting dot.
It's like a, yeah. Okay, so we've got doodling. So one of the feet is sticking. The purple foot is reacting differently, and there's probably a variable in here somewhere that's causing that. Either the foot's at a slightly different angle because of the way that the leg is cocked, would be my guess, or it's maybe slightly longer or shorter than the other, causing it to kind of catch. Pick you up, buddy. I'm so excited. I'm sorry I'm being quiet. I'm enamored by the fact that this guy is kind of doing what he was supposed to do. Although he's kind of sitting stationary now. I wonder why. That's interesting. Okay, so far of all of the feet that have been made, the one that works the best is the marker feet. And at this, is that foot even working? No, it is. So anyhow, I'm gonna peek down and look at the chat real quick to see what you're. Oh God! Don't run away. Floor says try using just one vibrator and attach it off balance and see what it does. If it moves only in one direction, you have a way of steering, and you just have to keep it off balance and spin it around to the direct direction you want to move. That's a good idea. Although that was mentioned a while ago. Sorry, I'm now just reading it. Did you just think that? Check the center of mass. Nick says to check the center of mass. Good idea. Put it in a nice frame and hang it up. Yeah, this is definitely going on the refrigerator. How long have I been doing this? Oh, almost 2 hours. I've almost hit the 2-hour mark.
Yeah.
What time do we need to leave?
What is it, 5 o'clock?
Yes, we need to leave.
Yeah, about an hour and 20 minutes.
Okay, okay. Does that have anything to do with it? Interesting. Noodle. Okay, so it doesn't give me the smearing effect that I was kind of hoping for, but so far out of all of the things that I've created for Minty, the markers work the best. And a bunch of people suggested this in the chat back on Tuesday, the last time I was focusing on him. It makes sense. I understand why. I think I have a better grasp of like what the physical things at play are at this point in time, whereas before I just sort of had this abstract concept in my mind of how I thought things should work, which is usually never the case. So I see now that the tips transfer all of the vibration down to a point, and then it bounces and dances on top of the surface, and the surface needs to be nice and flat and hard, and the tips need to be kind of rigid, at least rigid enough, and that allows for the vibrating doing. Moving doing. Sorry. It's not the smear that I want, but that's okay. I'm gonna give these guys, pick one up, it's probably dry, horrendously toxic, what is it? Kind of like bingo dauber rook feet, another go. I haven't given up on this implementation yet. It's just going to take a little bit more fine-tuning, but I think this has the potential to work as well. Let's see. Floor suggested making ballpoint tip feet with a marble at the end that's kind of held in place like a bearing, and then having some sort of charge on the inside that transfers ink to the ball and then allows it to kind of leave ink on the surface, which makes sense because then the ball, because of the way spheres work, would have its point that it makes contact with the surface with. Wow, I'm like forming my sentences terribly right now. basically the bottom of the sphere would make contact with the paper, which is a smaller point than an entire pad or an entire flat edge of something. And then it would also kind of allow for the, at least the transfer of, again, another like thin line of ink. And depending on how much of that sphere actually presses into the paper, maybe even a smear, I don't know, that might actually facilitate entirely in creating the effect that I want. And now you're just standing still. But I think before my next meditation on this guy, I will think about those things. Sorry, I'm like spacing out. I will think about all the things I observed now and make adjustments accordingly, and then I'll come up with another meditation, another series of shoes for the feet that I can test. And I don't know, we're gonna find it. We're gonna find like the ultimate foot shoe, inky shoe for the Doodle feet. We're gonna get him dancing. And I think for the next stream, I'm going to find a larger platform with big paper so that he can kind of freely do his thing. But anyhow, yeah, should I get ready for the dinner then? Yeah. Okay. Oh god. Sorry. Okay, I'm gonna turn you off. Okay. Okay. Let's see. The rook feet now look like crowns, complete with internal red velvet. Yes, they do. Roy Droid says that the rooks look like bloody or velvety inset crowns. So they are kind of perfect. They're like blood-soaked crowns. So Noodle's kind of disappointed now because this guy technically has more feet attachments than he does, and that's offensive to Noodle. And Noodle's like right here. He's off camera, but he's like staring judgmentally down upon me right now as I work on his like analog. But again, to recap before I sign off, the feet that I tried last time that didn't work include as I bump everything. I got these tiny little brushes. They're those toothbrushes, the disposable ones that you can take with you on the go. I created little inset shoes that house the brushes in much the same way as the markers, you know, to kind of inset inside of the shoe. These didn't work at all. Hold on. I dropped them all. Oh man, it's gone forever. I have no idea where that went. Whatever. Okay. So these didn't work. I made silicone tipped ones. I cut little pieces of silicone brush pad, and those pretty much absorbed all of the vibration. Didn't get any motion out of these either. Although now I can definitely see as why. And then these guys right here, which I've shown a couple times during the stream, are the ones with just straight sponges. I was kind of hoping these would act as stamp pads and just kind of like smear across the surface and like giant wide swaths. But these like worked the least because again, these these functioned as giant brake pads, and they just clamped him down onto the surface because the vibration obviously got entirely absorbed by the pads. And he just kind of stuck there. He hung on the paper and did nothing. So, again, both things suggested from the last stream seem to more or less have the potential to work eventually. I don't know. I'm going to make him a little bit, probably improve the positioning of his legs so that there's a little bit more consistent angle between legs, because it seems like I'm getting to a point where that's going to matter now. Each leg needs to be tuned so that they're as similar to each other as I can possibly get them to be, so that they kind of are pulling him around in a consistent way. But yeah, I'm kind of happy with the progress that's been made so far. I'm gonna move the bloody stumps off of the art, but this is the artwork that the bloody stump feet, the little rook feet, made with the ink. It's like little blood smears. This is gonna go on the refrigerator, and then this guy right here. I'm very proud of this. This is his first, I would say, legit drawing, but it's very descriptive of the vibration that took place. Oops. I can kind of probably switch this over to the laptop camera at this point, because I'm going to sign off here in a minute. But, yeah. That's art, folks. So Minty made his first refrigerator art drawing, and Mommy's very proud. But, anyhow. I'm gonna read through the chat and see if I can catch anything that I might have missed. But if you gave me a suggestion, thank you for giving me feedback and helping me. If I end up implementing anything that's been thrown at me, then I'll definitely like shout you out in the next stream when I do another meditation with this guy. But yeah. Before that, though, probably sometime this coming week, I am going to work on the jelly. So the next thing in my work rotation is a little bit more focus on the progress I've made regarding the jelly guy, the bulbous. So this is going to be my next instructional buildy thing that will be on my blog. So I'll release the I guess the STL files or the thing files so that you can print all the parts you need for one of these jellies and then potentially assemble one yourself. The difference between this one and the noodle spawnling, however, is that you will need to get some additional materials to make this one work because it has a little bit more complex of a mechanical system causing it to move on the inside. So you won't be able to download it and make it that day, but after you visit your hardware store and purchase a couple of peripheral materials, you can easily make one of these yourself in a weekend. So this will be my next project. Until then, though, I don't know. Again, like, thank you so much for keeping me company for a couple of hours on Sunday. I'm gonna see if anybody's still hanging around. Yeah, but I don't know, I'm gonna point the camera back down to my bench so that you can say goodbye to the baby, the inky baby right here. So he says thank you. Right, I'll see you guys around. And again, I have to say this before I sign off, but if you don't follow me on Twitter, you should definitely do that. Follow me at Spetku, S-P-E-T-K-U, or follow Noodlefeet at Noodlefeet. I post updates as often as I can with pictures and whatnot, so you can get little morsels about how all of these things are going. And I don't know, if you feel so inclined and want to support my work, then definitely check out my Patreon and contribute if you feel like it. But if not, until next time, I don't know, keep making awesome stuff out there, and I'll see you around. Say bye, Mark.
Goodbye.
Time for pizza. Stop the stream, Sarah. Stop midstream.